Ancient humans hid their greatest art where it could never be seen. Some of the most famous cave paintings on Earth sit over a kilometer inside pitch-black caves. Past anywhere a person could safely live, sleep, or shelter. Left by someone who likely knew almost nobody would ever find them. This is Ugg. Ugg is lost. Ugg has been lost for what he insists was on purpose. Tok, who came along for moral support, points out that they have passed the same oddly shaped rock 4 times. Ugg says the rock moved. Here's the thing that makes this genuinely strange. Ugg isn't wandering by accident. Some of the most famous cave art in the world sits deep inside cave systems, far past where anyone could have lived, slept, or sheltered from weather. The most famous sites are in France and Spain. Lascaux, discovered in 1940 by a group of teenagers and a dog. Chauvet, found in 1994, containing some of the oldest known paintings, created tens of thousands of years ago. Altamira in Spain, sometimes called the Sistine Chapel of prehistory. Here's the part that breaks the assumption most people walk in with. Chauvet is roughly twice as old as Lascaux, painted more than 30 years earlier. And yet its animals show shading, perspective, and layered technique that some later art doesn't even attempt. Older did not mean simpler, and it isn't only Europe. In Sulawesi, Indonesia, archaeologists have identified cave paintings estimated to be among the oldest figurative art ever found. A warty pig painted by someone a very, very long time ago. This wasn't a one-place phenomenon. Humans on opposite sides of the world were doing this. The materials were simple. Ochre, a natural iron-rich pigment for reds and yellows, charcoal for black. Sometimes manganese oxide, mixed with water, fat, or spit, and applied with fingers, chewed sticks, or blown through a hollow bone to create a spray. Getting the pigment in the first place meant leaving the cave entirely. Someone had to walk out into open daylight, find the right reddish clay deposits, dig them out by hand, and carry them back. Sometimes from sources many miles from the cave itself. Which brings us back to Ugg, who has just discovered that a crushed red rock makes a very satisfying mark on stone. Ugg does not yet understand why this matters. Ugg is simply delighted. Borg asks what it's supposed to be. Ugg says it's a very good bison. Borg says it looks like a smudge. Ugg says Borg has no vision. Here's the part that should genuinely surprise you. The animals painted in these caves are almost never humans. Mostly it's bison, horses, aurochs, deer, mammoths. Actual human figures are rare, and when they do appear, they're often strange, part human, part animal. One of the most famous examples is a figure in a French cave called Trois Freres, sometimes nicknamed the Sorcerer, a figure with antlers, an owl-like face, and a human posture. Nobody knows exactly what it represents. Hand stencils are common too. A hand pressed flat against the rock, with pigment blown around it, leaving a negative outline. They appear in caves across Europe, Indonesia, and elsewhere, made by adults and, in some cases, what look like children's hands. Ugg has now pressed his own hand against the wall. Ugg is extremely proud of this. Finn points out that it just looks like a handprint. Ugg says that's exactly what makes it art. So why did people do this? This is where things get honest, because archaeologists genuinely don't agree. And the real answer is probably not one single reason. One idea is called hunting magic. The theory that painting an animal was thought to help ensure a successful hunt, a kind of ritual practiced before going out. It's a popular idea, but it's difficult to prove from paint on a wall alone. Another idea points to shamanic or spiritual practice. Some researchers have suggested these deep, dark spaces were used for ritual, possibly involving altered states of consciousness, with the paintings connected to visions or spiritual belief. This is a real area of study, but it's interpretation, not something we can confirm directly. Before we get to the third theory, here's something that should stop you. In some caves, researchers have found finger flutings. Simple lines dragged through soft mineral coating on the walls. Made by children as young as 2 or 3 years old. Deliberately brought that deep into the dark. A third idea is far more practical. Teaching. Caves may have been where knowledge was passed down, where elders showed younger members of the group what animals looked like, how to identify them, maybe even how to track or approach them safely. And a genuinely interesting recent idea, proposed by researchers studying the dots, lines, and marks that often appear near the animals, is that some of these marks may represent a kind of early calendar, tracking seasonal animal behavior like migration or birthing cycles. It's a compelling hypothesis, still being debated, not a settled conclusion. The honest answer is that it was probably not just one of these things. Different caves, different times, different groups. Some paintings may have been ritual, some may have been teaching tools. Some, possibly, were simply someone deciding a wall looked better with a horse on it. Ugg, for the record, has decided his handprint was definitely a spiritual experience. Seller asks if that's because it means something, or because his hand was cold. Ugg does not answer this. Back at camp that night, word of Ugg's handprint has already spread. Old Gara, unimpressed, says her generation used to paint whole herds of bison. Not a hand. The rest of the tribe roars with laughter around the fire. One more genuinely strange fact. Some of these paintings were touched up, added to, or repainted over thousands of years by different people in different generations, returning to the exact same spot in the dark. That means these were not one-off events. Whatever these caves meant, people kept coming back to them, generation after generation, treating the same dark. Difficult to reach spaces as worth returning to, again and again. And here's the detail that still keeps researchers up at night. In several caves, footprints belonging to children have been found in the deepest, most dangerous chambers, far past anywhere an adult needed to bring them. Nobody has ever fully explained why they were taken there. Nobody knows for certain why. Maybe the children were being initiated into something. Maybe they were simply brought along because someone had to carry the lamp. Whoever they were small, they were scared or excited or both, and they went anyway. Here's a thought worth sitting with. Humans still do a version of this today. We carve initials into trees. We write names on old buildings. We leave messages in time capsules for people we will never meet. We post photos and thoughts online, often without much expectation that any particular person will see them. Just a general sense of wanting to leave some mark that says, someone was here, someone felt something, once. Maybe that's part of it. Not the whole answer. Archaeologists are honest that we don't fully know, but a piece of it. The same impulse that makes someone carve their initials into a tree today may not be so different from someone, tens of thousands of years ago, pressing a painted hand against solid rock. So why did ancient humans paint caves? The honest answer is, probably for several reasons, some practical, some spiritual, some we may never fully understand. But whatever the reason, the impulse itself, to leave a mark to be seen, to say something to people who weren't there yet, is something that never really went away. Even old Gara, who still insists her generation's bison herds were better art, admits she still remembers exactly which wall her own mother painted on, decades later. She just won't admit that means anything. As for Ugg's handprint, it is still there. Whether it means anything, whether someone will ever find it. Whether it's spiritual or just a cold-handed accident, nobody knows yet. Which might be exactly the point. New episode next week. Same tribe, same confusing cave system. Subscribe if you want to see whether Ugg ever finds his way out.